I'm Miriam Joy and welcome to my studio. Today we're going to be doing the Miriam Joy Wax Technique jewelry line, and we're going to do a bunch of different videos for you on different pieces because they all kind of have little techniques. But before we get started on the piece we're working on today, we want to go over some of the tools and how we get the gourd piece ready. So that's kind of important. This that I'm working on is a 2-inch gourd round, and we get these by using our circle drill, and these just simply hook into your drill. You just set them right in there like that. Now you can position this bit so that it's not in the way, but it's harder to control. So if you're using the bit and you want to leave the drill in the middle, that's fine. And then what I do is I simply fill it in with quick wood and sand it out. Now the slower you take these, the smoother your pieces are going to be. So my suggestion is just take it nice and slow. If you have a drill press, it's easier. You just hook this into the drill press and take the drill press down nice and easy. You want thicker pieces. You don't want something that's really, really thin. It needs to be wide enough that we can put a strip of leather or whatever you want to put on the sides. There's all kinds of different ways to finish it, and we'll talk about that when we get to that part. But I do them with thicker pieces, and then I take them and I have a let's see, what is this called? A sanding tabletop sander. It's a belt sander, and I just smooth my edges down, and I've done them by hand too. It's not a big deal. You can do the sizes by hand if you want to make sure that they're nice and perfectly round. And then I take the bottom of it and I just sand it like this. Now because they're thicker, I get that nice smooth finish. You can sand the top if you have little blemishes or anything like that. And if you have a little hole or two, don't forget you can fill that in with your quick wood as well. It doesn't take that much. But other than that, these do not have to be sanded. You do not want them sealed. You want them nice and natural. You don't want anything underneath. We're not going to be working with any dyes or anything other than just our Crayola crayon for our color. We will be adding some of that. Now to make this easier for you, we do have the different sizes available on the website. This is a 2.5-inch round, and what I work most commonly with is the 2-inch. I have a 1.5, which is a nice little necklace size, or also the 1.25, and this makes great earrings. I don't want my earrings so small that I can't work with them, so we'll be getting some earring kits for you as well. All of these are available on our website as pieces and as kits, and we're going to excuse me, lost my train of thought there. We just want to make sure that we have these available so that you don't have to do the work. You can just buy them and you're ready to go. And a lot of our kits are going to have everything you need in it to do that specific one. So whatever kit you want, you just order it online and it'll have most of your products available in it. So we've talked about how our little pieces are. Oh, I know where my train of thought went. I would not recommend doing a bigger piece than the 2.5. You can try it, but most of them, like I said, I like the 2-inch. The reason is there's only so much room you can control the wax while it's warm. So that's the reason I don't get into the bigger pieces of gourds, and you want to kind of watch them. You don't want them too lumpy or bumpy because remember your wax is going to melt into the lower spots. So we want to try and have it as flat as possible. We know that gourds aren't flat, but we try and do our best. Okay, we're going to be using, of course, the Miriam Joy melting pot that has the well in it, so we can put our crayons in here. This technique does take a little bit more crayon than what you're used to working with. And I'm not going to lie to you about this, but the more pots you have, the better the experience is going to be for you, one for each color. Otherwise, you're trying to jump around too much, trying to clean out the melting pot, getting to the next color. So if you have 3 melting pots, you might kind of think about doing a project that has just 3 colors. You can clean it out. It's just going to take you longer, that's all. And you just, the more you have, the more you're going to really love that. And this is addicting. I'm going to warn you up front, it is very addicting. Once you start this, your ideas are just going to go crazy and you're going to start thinking of all these things that you can do. I do use the Miriam Joy tools. When I'm applying the wax on with larger amounts, I use my number 2 tool, which is the biggest of the tools. And then I go into the smaller tools to move things around. So know that they are going to be move around on you a little bit. So you want the smaller tips of the Miriam Joy tools. We use the stipple brushes, and I don't even try to clean these out because they're so reasonably cost, and I try to keep these all reasonable for you. I have one for each color, and this is when we're putting large amounts of color in them, and I'll be showing you different pieces where we're using this tool to make our process go a whole lot faster, and it's kind of to lay the wax kind of more evenly on there. I've also introduced the eyedroppers. Now, we carry these as well. Again, I do the same thing. I try to have one for each color and at a reasonable cost so that you don't have to worry about trying to clean them out or anything. And they have to be glass. You do not want to try and put plastic into your melting pot or your hot wax. You're going to melt it. So we want to make sure that we're using glass eyedroppers. And this again is just it's a easier way to get the wax spread out along a longer cross of area. So that's the reason that we have introduced the eyedroppers. I am also going to use the texture brush and inserts in some of the different things I make, and the ones I do that you're really going to like. They're going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you have your texture brush and insert ready for some of these as well. I'm sticking with a lot of these, a 24 box of crayons. Doing these videos or the wax technique is great because you can take out your crayons that you don't use a lot of and just throw them all together and make some wonderful fun stuff. But I'm going to stick with a 24 because that's the most economical, as we know. Don't forget your darker colors. Use your white to lighten them up, especially your blues and your purples so they don't look black, and then you get these real fun colors. Because in this 24 box, we don't really have a lighter purple. And look at the tip, because like this purple here is almost black. I'm also going to be using a lot of the metallic colors, which are a lot of fun. They're really, really just great. They have that sparkle to them, almost like there's glitter in them. And here's a silver that's warmed up just to kind of show you the kind of stuff that you're going to get and how fun they are. I'm not using as much of the glitter because when you heat them up, they kind of get a little bit, I don't know how to explain it, harder. But try them and see if you like it. If not, go back to your metallic colors. I don't recommend doing a whole bunch of metallic colors in one piece because your crayons give it the brightness that you want, and when you're using metallics you kind of lose that brightness and that color. So I do 1 or 2 metallic colors with a piece at the most and stick with my basic crayons. We have all kinds of fun things we can add into our wax as we're working. There's all kinds of glitters and items. I have been using the micro beads. And then one of my favorites is the tinsel glitter. And you have thicker glitter and finer glitter, and there's just all kinds of really neat kinds that is out there. There's also, this is like a leafing, I think they call this like a vintage leafing, but there's just all kinds of things. Think about adding to them, all kinds of scrapbook items that you can use in this, and we'll show you how to melt it into your wax once we get going. One of my favorite things are these little guys though, because when I'm doing this I find I can control it better if I can get my finger in there and I just want to put it on just a little bit and spread it across just with my fingers, and I like these little containers better, and we are going to sell these on our website with the little glitters in them, so you can get exactly what you want and just sprinkle it and get in and out of it with your finger. And that again is the Tencel glitter. So they have all kinds of neat things in them. This one I have some of the Tencel glitter in, and I have some of the micro beads in. But just anywhere where you think that you may need something, we can add a little bit of sparkle. This one has just the real fine silver in it. And then I want to show you on this one we have a little bit of the bigger pieces in it. Just a tad, just enough to set that piece off. But I really think that the glitter really makes or breaks your piece. I think it's a lot of fun. And let's get started, because this is going to be so much fun. I got so excited about getting ready to play, I forgot a couple of the key things that we're using here. So I'm going to go back and just cover a couple other little things. You might have seen these sitting on the table. These are my rubber gloves, and they're also, they call them garden gloves, but you want the ones with the rubber on them. This is kind of a tip I'm going to give you. These make holding onto your gourd so much easier. So if you have a gourd or you're working with a gourd, especially when I'm working with my drill press and I need to hold on to one, I can hold on to it nice and easy, and it doesn't slip around as much. I also use it when I'm working with my pieces to hold on to that are smaller, because they're just that much more secure, or especially when I am sanding on my sander, I can hold on to it with a better grip. So any of the gloves with the rubber work really, really well. No matter what type of gourd work you're doing, those are fun to use. I also have my table covered in a piece of paper. You can get the bigger pieces of paper at your newspaper, the leftover rolls, or at a butcher. A lot of times we'll have the bigger strips of paper. Because we're moving so fast and working so fast, we'll get a lot of wax spread out, so we don't want to do have splatters all over our work area. I also have a black tray, especially right under where I have my heat gun, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Because you're going to have splatters coming off and going different areas, you want to kind of contain that bigger splatter area there. I also have a hook, kind of a shepherd's hook or a plant hanger, and this one happens to hook right onto my table. I found this one at a craft store, but also your garden supplies. And if you happen to be one of the ones that has a rotary tools that has the hanger to hang off of, that would work really, really nicely as well. And I know that there are some vendors out there that do sell those. You might check like Bonnie Gibson's site or some of the others as well. I'm going to be using one of the most important tools today is our heat tool. They're also called embossing tools or heat guns. So if you have any of those three written on it, it's all good. We do now carry this style, and I really like this style because it comes in here at the middle and it's easy to hold. And when I first started doing this process, I would work with this hand and hold with this hand, and it's a little bit harder, so that's why I recommend the stand, but you can do it if you need to do that. So that is a little bit more of our tools that we're going to be using today. Oh, turn that right on. We know that it works. And now let's get playing and have some fun. we're going to be working on our stars and stripe piece. And this is the actually 2.5 inch round. This is a little bit bigger than our 2-inch round because it gives us a little bit more working room. And we're going to put the wax on first. And I'm going to be using my stipple brushes on this part. And we're going to be doing not quite half of the gourd. No, I've got that one almost. Well, maybe we'll come down a little bit further, because we've got to get our fireworks and everything, but you also want it to have room to come down a little bit. So I'm not quite going half, but pretty close. And I'm warming up my stipple brush in the wax and getting that nice and warm. And then I'm just going to come and apply that right across. And just bring that right across the top. And one more time there. Okay. And then we're going to put the stripes in it. And I'm going to do the white first because the white will pick up the red if the red is already there. So we're going to put that on first. And I'm going to do down the middle, and I'm just doing it as wide as my brush is, and down the sides, and one more time. And I think I'm going to go ahead and give the white a second layer, just so it doesn't go thin on us. Okay, and now let's get our red warmed up. And we're just going to fill that in. And I'm going to warm up my tool, and I'm going to use just a number 0 tool, the large end, and get that in my wax and warm that up while we're doing our red stripes. So we're going to come up here and put our red in. And if you wanted glitter colors in these, you could use the red glitter crayons. And those have the glitter in them. And they've got a red and 2 whites with glitter in them, in fact, as well. So you have that option. So we're going to let this cool a little bit, and then we're going to start to warm it. The reason we're going to let it all cool is you want it all the same melting point. So like right now, the red would melt faster than the other colors, and you don't want that to happen. And then once we get that warmed, we're going to come over here from the side and put in our firework up on top with our tool while this is warm. That way it looks like it is exploding into the sky. Excuse me. So let's take it on over and let's go ahead and start warming that up. On a big piece like that, you always want to start on the outside first and work your way towards the middle, because the middle is easy to warm up. And so by walking it on the outside first, when you get to the middle, the last, it goes really, really fast. And I've got my gun way up high, my heat gun, and I may even have to pull it down just a little bit lower, we'll see. But that's because we don't want it to move a lot. Now on this piece, what I kind of did is I kind of ran it down a little bit from the top, just a little bit, not much. You can see it just a little bit. And another thing you can do is, if you don't want to risk that, just move your glue down a little bit with your tool. That way it won't run too much on you. Now we're going to leave that guy going there, and we're going to come in, and I'm going to put my 4th of July. Now when it's really, really warm, it expands out even more. Now you can see it's not quite expanding as much, and I don't want it to as the first one. We just want to kind of give it a little little bit there. So it looks like the fireworks are going off in the sky. I'm going to come in with my Prisma glitter, and we're going to, especially on that area, hit the firework. So it looks like it's got some fireworks going off on it. And I got a little fleck of something. Not quite sure what that is. See if we can get it out. And we're going to hit that just a little bit again. Now that kind of moved around on me a little bit, so I'm going to heat that up and just try putting that in just a little bit more. Not too much. Just redefining it. It kind of moved around even after we had let it cool a bit there. And the more you let it cool before you do this, the less it's going to move around on you. So let it cool a little bit more if you want more extinction of the fireworks. And you can see I'm just keep coming back in there. Just doing that till I get it where I want. Silver is also a really other good one to use for fireworks. And I'm going to put some more glitter back on top of that. And then I want to come in this area and try not to heat that and put my octagon silver glitter. And I like this. It kind of makes it look like bigger fireworks in the background. It's a lot bigger glitter. So we're going to do that. And sometimes if you have an area that you don't want real warm, if you put your hands over it or put something over it just a little bit, it kind of protects that. Just get that set down. There we go. All right. And if you don't like the way these bottom guys turned out, let's work on them just a tad. They kind of came to a point. Once the color's heated up, you don't want that wax cold where it looks like you're taking a chunk out. You want it movable. You can kind of move it back around. Now we've got some bigger stripes back there. I like that better. That's much nicer. Okay, we're going to let that cool, and then we will put our finish over the top. I've got one little area that I've still got to heat up. I took a chunk out of. Okay, so we've got that nice and even. So we're going to let that cool down for a minute. And I'm going to talk to you about the stars. Now there's all types of different stars, but I wanted some bigger stars. There's little small glitter stars, which you can use. Martha Stewart has some out, and some different ones like that. But these are actually brads. And brads are a whole new thing now. And I use a lot of brads in my artwork. They're just shapes and designs that I really, really like. And at Christmas time, they have a whole bunch of neat ones as well. So what I do is I just completely take the backs and cut these off. And I apply these after you are done with your finish on top. And I would put an odd number on. I would put 1, 2, and 3 on this piece right here. And glue them on with E6000 after you have your finish is completely dry, nice and ready to go, and then let your E6000, and your E6000 is a great glue. It's a real hard glue. It keeps rock to rock, stone to stone, anything like that attached. But when you put them on, you want enough glue that it doesn't come through the edges, but also push it really, really tight so that the glue or the star does not get caught when it's being worn on something else. So you want to kind of do that. The reason we don't want to put it under the finish is you want that nice shiny glittery finish on top, and that will keep that. So look at the difference between the one that is not finished yet and the other one, and how much brighter it is and how much nicer it looks. So we're going to take our hobby knife and we're going to remove the wax on the edges, and we're not going to put the finish on top of this, so it's real important to remove the wax. If you've got any on the back, do that as well, so that none of the wax would melt on the sides after you've completed your necklace. The stains are okay, it's just the wax we've done now. Once you've got that removed, we're going to do one more thing, and that is we're going to come around the edges and we're going to come up just a tad on that very edge. And what we're doing is we're trying to create a little area that the finish can come over to the gourd piece and make a nice seal on. So we're going to remove all of our wax. Make sure you don't have any of that left. You don't want pieces where it doesn't belong. And we're going to put our finish on with the Mod Podge Dimensional Magic. It's real important that it's the Dimensional Magic, not just Mod Podge. This is a nice hard finish. This is made for the jewelry that has the real glass look. So it's made to go on nice and thick and be really hard. So that is the reason we like it. Unfortunately, because gourds aren't really flat, we can't put it all in one time. We're going to put it on with a brush, and that's just kind of to move it around. But we want to put at least 3 to 5 coats on, good thick coats. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go around just a little bit on the outside here, and not enough to let it run off the edge. And what we're going to do is we're going to take that and we're going to go over the edge and help create that seal all the way around that gourd. I probably could do a little bit more here. So you want to make sure you get that nice seal all the way around there. And I got something else on my brush. Now, it's better to have too much than not enough on this. So we're going to come back in. We're going to put a nice layer on there. And we're going to use our brush to kind of just come along the top of it and move it around. You're not really coming in like a brush. You're just kind of evening it out. And what you'll see is it kind of settle down a little bit and kind of gel. If you can see your brush strokes, you need to add some more. And make sure you get those edges nice and good as well. And you don't want it so thick that it's falling off the edges. If you do, catch it on the edges. And then remember to come in and put a couple more coats on that. If you have any bubbles, make sure you pop them. But don't ever shake your Dimensional Magic, because then you will create bubbles. Okay, we're going to apply our other coats to that and let that dry. And then we're going to come back and finish up our necklace. Okay, now that we've finished decorating our jewelry piece and we have removed the wax off the sides with our hobby knife, and we put 5 coats of the Mod Podge on, the Dimensional Magic, and it is dry, we're going to come in with our black acrylic paint and just paint the sides and the back all nice and neat. And if you get any of the paint up here, just wipe it off because you've already got your sealer on, so that'll just wipe off. Now make sure if you've used your Dimensional Magic, it's been 3 hours and that it's nice and dry. We don't want that wet and your fingerprints in there. And we're going to talk some more about different things that you can use other than what I am using. In this, I'm going to use the basic black suede strip. And the reason I use black in the backgrounds is it's a fade color. So the design and the piece stands out and the sides don't distract from your design or the front part. So that is a reason that I use the black. Now there's lots of other colors that you could use and decide that you would rather do instead of the black, like on the red flower. Paint the sides red and then put your red leather piece over that to bring out the red in the flower. That's fine. You have all kinds of things. This is some little silk pieces that I have found. You could put those around there. I've used some. I've turned them into a braid. You could put a braided piece around there to bring that out. It's all kinds of different stuff. I found some little tiny Hawaiian beads that I thought if you had the right piece, those would look fun. But you've got all kinds of thread and yarn and just different accents that you can use. Don't get stuck on just what I'm showing you today. I always tell you to think outside the box. We'll think outside the gourd piece here. I have some silver wire that you could use, as well as some stained glass siding that's sticky that you could put on the sides. So there's all kinds of things that you could do with it. One of my favorites for this piece was a braided suede piece around that, and how neat that makes that look. But like I said, we're going to stick with the black basic for now because it helps the pattern stand out in the background. And if you've done the beading video, there is one thing that we're going to do different, and we're going to move the suede piece towards the front so it's flush with the front of our piece. So we have painted in black. It's nice and dry. I'm going to put a tad of tacky glue on to start it. And on this one, I'm going to decide where my top of my gourd piece is going to be, and I'm going to start and finish there. And that is so I can also get my eye screw in between those two pieces. Now I'm going to set it down flush. I'm going to use an awl, and I'm going to stick that awl right in the middle of that piece on the end. And with the awl, you want it to go about 1/4 of an inch down because the sequin pins that we're going to be using are 1/2 inch. Throw a couple of those out there. And if you do it right, you should only need 2 of these. And some gourd pieces are tougher than others, and some are softer. And this guy is going to be a booger. He is nice and hard. So let's see. And I leave my finger right there, so hopefully I can kind of have an idea where that hole is, and I can sink my nail into that hole without it being too hard. And I'm going to try moving him just a tad here, because he is not playing with me today. There we go. And I have tried all different ways to do this with the hammer and all kinds of things, and the awl is the easiest way. You only want to put it halfway down so your sequin can push in halfway so it holds nice and secure. You don't want to push it all the way, otherwise your sequin won't have anything to push into. Now, instead of hammering or anything, I found it was just easier to push the pin straight in, and if it bends, take your pliers and pull it out. You don't want to go any further. And you want to make sure that this pin is not going towards the front. You don't want it to go through your design. You'd rather it go down or towards the back. If it comes through anywhere, you'd rather it came through the back. We're going to try one more time. Nice and slow, just pushing that straight in. This is a hard gourd. And it's kind of nice so you know that it happens to me as well. So we're going to leave this one in here. Try it one more time with my awl. And we're going to push that straight down. Don't let it go to the side. The thimble is important. It's a non-slip thimble so that you cannot slip around, and that really helps out. Okay, so we finally got that guy in there. And I like to leave that in there because if I have problems, you're going to have problems once in a while. And we don't want to have this too messy. We don't want it on top of our leather because we're not covering up our leather. Our leather is our final piece. We'll bring that all the way around. And when I lay my tacky glue down, I always have it on the side instead of straight up and down, so I don't have to shake it and get that air bubble out before I grab it. So we're just going to put this on, and we wanted it flush with the front, so I'm just kind of moving that around. And we're going to bump up right up next to this. We're going to put, you're not going over the top of it, but you're going right next to where we did the first one. And we're going to see if this guy will go in a little bit easier. Push him in nice and slow, straight up and down. This one's been a booger. And if he bends, we know we're going to pull. I'm going to grab my pliers here. And so we're going to pull this guy out. And that's why we put extra pins in your kit. And usually I do not have this hard of a time. This is just a tougher piece, just like you have soft gourds and hard gourds. It's the same thing with this. I'm going to try to put the hole in again a little bit further down. But like I said, it's a good thing to do these on these videos because then you know when you do it, you're not thinking how easy it was. And usually it goes in much easier. I usually do not have this hard of a time at all. And then I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to trim this off. You still want the two pieces kind of meeting right there. Okay. And remove any of this glue from the front. You do not want any of this showing. Kind of make sure it's on the edge. And what this does is just frames your piece that much nicer. Now, where these two pieces touched, I'm actually going to come in between those two and I'll punch another hole. And actually, I'm not going to punch this one because it's thicker right behind it. But if it's not thicker, it's thinner, just put it right down the middle of your piece right there. Because when you go to turn it, your pieces are broken right there, so you're not turning them as much. So we're going to put our awl in there again. And we're going to twist on our screw eye. This is the smallest ones you can find. I think this is like a 7/16. It'll be in your kits. So now we have that on. And I drop my necklace. And we're going to put our jump ring on. And I'm going to open the jump ring up. I'm going to put it through the necklace. Decide which way your clasp goes on your necklace so that you have that the right direction. And then put your pendant part on. And then you're going to squeeze it shut. And you want no space between that. Now, it's a bigger... You don't have to worry about exactly, but you never want, when you're working with jump rings, you never want them coming off, so you want to make sure they're nice and tight. So we want those meeting. And you can also squish them on there too, so that you know that they're nice and tight and right where they meet. And then we have our necklace. Now, if you notice, the screw eye is facing this direction so that your jump ring is facing this direction. Now, if you have any glue or stuff on the back like this, go back over and paint that up, touch that up with your black acrylic paint. And you can also add part of a back on there. You can cut out the size of your circle and put a piece of material or leather on there, just so that it's a little bit smoother on your necklace, if your skin, if you happen to be wearing it above your clothing. And if you like the piece with the beading on, we also have the beading technique, and that is on the Miriam Joy website, and that just really makes all of your stuff stand out. And there is a great video on how to do that step by step. And so we're just adding all kinds of dimension to your jewelry, and it's amazing just what Crayola crayon can do and how fantastic it looks. Nobody's going to believe that these are actually crayons. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed this. Please know that you can play the video into YouTube again and again. You're not limited to one time, and that there also are kits for each one of these. Hopefully, if you don't see anything up online, email me at art@miriamjoy.com, or if you have any questions. And for any of the other projects, just visit my website at miriamjoy.com. Thank you. God bless and have fun.